Here.
West,
Here.
Jerry LaBeouf. Madam Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. If you would, please join us. Mr. Dallas Smith, would you lead us in the invocation?
Gracious Father, we come tonight, first giving all glory, honor, and praise to you. Father God, we ask that you be in the midst of this meeting and conduct it, oh Father God. We ask that we be on one accord and that we handle your business, oh Father God, and for the city of Port Arthur. We ask it all in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. And join us in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Board, you've received a copy of the minutes from our special board meeting on October 7th. And if you've all had an opportunity to review it, may I have a motion, please?
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve the minutes of the October 7th meeting. Although, in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. We'll move to petitions and communications presentations. Mr. Baptiste.
We've been talking to you guys about working toward becoming a work-ready community. And what I've put in your package is a draft letter. Joni has told me I have some subjects and verbs that does not agree, so it is a draft that we plan to send out to about 493 business in the city of Port Arthur. We are going to be inviting those folks to a luncheon that we will pay for at Lamar State College. And what's that date? January the 16th. And we want to expose the business community to what we're trying to do, because without them, it will not work. You know. I'm going to let George tell you. George spent a week in North Carolina. Talk about.
Oh, I'm sorry. Last week I was in Charlotte and I attended ACT's Work Keys conference. I thoroughly enjoyed it because I think this is what the city of Port Arthur really needs. We've had meetings with industry, we've had meetings with subcontractors, and Mr. Baptiste, myself, the rest of the staff, we all have come together saying that the hiring process in the city of Port Arthur isn't what it should be as far as employing the people of Port Arthur. And if we can get them to do this assessment test, we can gauge better the employee that's going out to all employers throughout the city of Port Arthur, whether it be the refineries, restaurant, retail, anything. And what it is, basically, it's a 3-section test, roughly about an hour apiece, and it tells where someone's skill level is in these particular categories. So, for example, what we want to do is establish what they call a work-ready community. Like Mr. Baptiste said, everybody would be involved. All the employers in Port Arthur, the school district, the local college, everybody to get behind this way of getting our people a better chance at these jobs, because it's too many jobs that'll be on the way as well as what's already here, but we're not getting these jobs. So as far as what I learned, this is the thing to do, and like Mr. Baptiste reiterates all the time, like the regular system that's in place now is not helping us any. So this is our shot here to take it a different direction.
Most of you guys, I think Guy Fowler was in the system for a long time. I was in the system for a long time. It's a good system, but it doesn't work for us. And I became introduced to work keys 15, 20 years ago. And what we want to do is establish what I've issued you guys. This is the assessment that they assess. Individuals have to be assessed to be put in the database. Once they take the assessment, applied math, graphics, workplace documents, applied technology, it ranks them based upon those specific assessment. It's kind of like when we finish high school and we want to choose to go to a college or university, most of them require that we take the ACT or the SAT or the LSAT, and the purpose of that is to see who will most likely be successful once they get there. And that's how people are selected. Who will be most likely successful once they see your scores? Even today in the industry, if you go to industry, you know, you could have a process operated certificate or degree or instrumentation, but they're still going to assess you to see if you could fit in that culture, because they're going to train you the way they want you to be trained. So our deal is to get the employers, make them aware of what we're trying to do, get them to buy into this thing, and at the same time, we get the local folks to take the assessment and be placed in this database. In your package, I gave you guys a sample of the assessment of the math and the graphic arts and each one of them. I've also added to you guys, if you pull this part, what happens once you take the assessment, it scores you. It scores you. And if you look at this one, this particular, the first profile I had was a human resource specialist. Well, they said for applied math, you need a maximum score is a 5. So we just go to our database and we pull those folks with a 5 in that assessment. And they, not to say they know about HR, but they most likely will be successful based upon those assessments. What we have now, and I made a living off of it, is a system that is so general and so wide open that you can go in there and tell the guy you're a machinist or a mechanic, and yes, you could fix a weed eater, but you refer to fix a tractor. 2 different skill sets that's required. Yeah. So we're trying to make it more job specific, more a person who most likely would be successful in any occupation. Like George said, it could be in the plants, it could be at a restaurant, it could be at a retail. We have profiles on all these occupations. I got a library assistant, and the scores varies based upon the occupation. So our deal is to try to maximize the number of Port Arthurs and put them in this database. And when we have job openings, we can go pull from that database and we could say to the employer, these are the folks who are most likely will be successful in this particular career. Yeah. Question? Yes, sir.
How do you come up with those folks? How do you come up with these people to get in this database? Where do you draw from?
We draw from the whole community.
But I mean, how do you get them?
We're going to have to go talk to them. We're going to have to go to the school. We're going to have to advertise. We got to make people aware that this is the, if you want to be referred, you got to be in this database. So they have, not everybody want a job, my friend. And not everybody, but if you want a job, you're going to have to make yourself available in this database, because this is what the employer is going to be pulling from this is going to be the pipeline that they're going to pull from. You know, and if you're not in the pipeline, you cannot get pulled.
Now, it's being done in communities,
Oh,
other
yes, sir.
communities. I mean, it's already a proven thing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I will tell you, Joyce could probably, I would say 40% of your Fortune 500, this is how they're making.
Really?
Yes, sir.
George, during your time for this training, how long is this test? 3 hours, 4 hours? What's the duration? Did they talk to you about the duration of the time for the test?
Yes, each portion is 1 hour roughly, and what they were saying was like total there's 5 sections, but as a majority, just those first 3, applied math, graphic literacy, and workplace documents, are the ones that majority of your fields would ask for. So they're saying on the average it's 3 hours. However, the thing is you don't have to sit there and take the test at one time for 3 hours. You could take an hour today. If you got to leave and come back, an hour next week, do it at your leisure. So that's another benefit because, like he said, when you were going to college or whatever, if you're taking the SAT, it's no, take a portion, leave, and come back. But with this, you can come back, and take it at your leisure.
Go ahead.
Question I have, and I guess Reverend Anderson can actually piggyback on this. The Kate Center here in our high school identifies those. There are some skill sets that are being honed in that program over there, and you were talking about actually identifying the persons that are going to be put into the database, right? How we're going to do that. Other than, and you said talking to schools, going to the schools, and I guess into other community, other community areas here to identify not only high school students, but adults, young adults who would need a skill set to be able to be included in this database. So how do we can identify those students in the high school? How do we get to those young adults who are no longer in school?
Okay. If you look at the draft letter and you go down to the 5th paragraph, Commissioner, it says the goal is for the high school seniors in the public and private school to have a CTE concentration to take the ACT work keys assessment needed. So they're going to take it into school. All we need is a computer. They'll take it while they're in school. So we will have their assessment while they're in school. The other thing we looked at is Southeast Texas workforce career centers. People go looking for jobs every day. And we are communicating with the workforce center right now that if they got computer labs, if a person go in there and take the test. Anybody want, you could take it there. We could have, Lamar have offered to have an assessment lab there also. So we'll get the word out that if you want to be assessed, TWC going to get the word out that if you want to be assessed, go sit down in the lab and take the test. Lamar going to get it. If you want to be assessed, go take the test. So we're looking at how we're going to market this thing to the what we call the transitional youths and adults. So, we're looking at it.
Okay. Once we start to identify those people who would, I guess, qualify to be included in a database, those who are assessed and do not meet those requirements to be included, how do we help them?
Well, we know the deficiency because remember, when you go back and you look at a profile of a person, of an occupation, it tells you at what level you need to be at. there is also software that we could put in at TWC at Lamar, where if a person wants to bring up their deficiency to a level where they can meet those criteria, they can go prepare themselves to get up there.
And I know I might be prolonging this
No,
thing, but
it's a good
but
dialogue.
once you identify the deficiencies, they've got to actually get to somewhere where somebody's going to actually help them to become proficient at before they take the test. And so I guess the question that I have is, how do we build the relationship with PAISD, Lamar State College, the Texas workforce, so that when we identify these young transitional adults, young adults who don't meet those requirements, they need to work too. And we need to do something to impress upon our community that these folks are going to need to benefit from some help. And how do we, or is that through the city? It can't be just the EDC. We're talking about a cooperative thing with all the entities. And you hear me talking about this all the time, about getting people together, coming up with a long-term strategic plan. How are we going to help folk? Because we got a large number of people here that's not going to qualify with the assessments that we have, what we're talking about right here from what I'm seeing. And we've got to be able to actually place resources, put resources in place, put people in place to actually tutor or teach or do whatever we need to do to get them to be included in the database, so that when jobs do come open, that they can qualify for those jobs and go to work.
And Commissioner, I think it's well said. I think the key in my mind right now, the key is having the employer buy into this thing. And if we get the employer to buy into it, then I will tell you, we are communicating right now with Lamar University, with Port Arthur Independent School District, with the Texas workforce. We are already talking now. And I think there's a lot of unknowns right now, but I think that if we get the employers to buy into this thing, those unknowns are going to become reality. We're going to deal with those things because it's a benefit for all of us. It's a benefit for the workforce. It's a benefit for the Economic Development Corporation. It's a benefit for the school district. It's a benefit for the employer. It's a benefit for the university. We're trying to take a holistic approach to getting the best return on our investment, not just ours, but business also, because it costs money to train people. It costs money for turnover. And what we're trying to do is reduce that turnover ratio and give that person an individual who is most likely to be successful in that occupation.
And Mr. Marks, I think that's the purpose of the work-ready community, to take it all off of EDC, like you're saying, because it's larger than us trying to, do this. It has to be with the school district and with the college, and they were talking about how even the police and stuff were involved, in some of the communities. So I think once we have that luncheon on the 16th where we roll it out to everybody, and then when we have our meetings, like we did earlier with industry, we can start, filling in those gaps where we talk about getting assistance from everybody else, so it wouldn't be all on the EDC.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And also with that, it'd be interesting to see the socialization, the communication, and the marketing strategy that's going to help to push this. Because a lot of people don't read, but they're always on their media, they're always on their cell phones, they all listen to videos, they may be on YouTube. The communication strategy is going to be very, very important on how we push this, because everybody's not going to pick up a newspaper and read it. I can guarantee they probably won't do that. But if they're on their cell phones, or they're in some social media, or they're on some Facebook and some type of socialization channel, they will get that information. And being able to direct them where they can go to help them to do this, for those that cannot go to Texas Workforce Commission or can't get on the bus line, having some type of online medium where they can take this test, make this assessment at their convenience, will be easier for them to do, so they can be included with that population.
Certainly. Stairs.
I don't know if I missed it, but what is the investment for this software, for this database?
The investment is the assessment that a person have to take.
So we only pay per assessment?
Assessment. And say again? The testing center is free, but the person, the test. And the intent, again, we're in the early stage of this thing, is the intent is to get business to buy into this thing, and hopefully business will pay for. Got to remember, everybody think employment is our problem. Really, employment is business problem, because if they don't have them, they can't do business. So our intent is to get business to pay for a lot of this stuff.
That's what I was thinking was going to happen, and be some type of partnership.
Yes, sir.
I'm just curious about how much
Yes,
the
sir.
investment would be initially. Love the idea of having a database in place to pull from. That makes all the sense in the world. But we do, as others have said, have to take into account those that are not prepared, and those individuals who don't test well. We have that issue as well. So just to keep it a level playing field, and just make as many people available to those employers, and they know that they are ready to go. That's just awesome. I wish something was like that when I was still in business. I could just pick employees from a database and just roll with it. So kudos.
One other thing I want, when you look at the profile of the occupation, there is 3 levels for each profile. There is a maximum skill level, a minimum skill level, and a medium skill level. So not everybody, and an employer may say, well, look here, I'll take a medium skill person. The deal is, what we have is not working, and we have to do something different. So from my experience with workforce development, I think Work Keys is our answer.
One additional question, George. When you was in this training, did they talk about transferable skills and what maybe Work Keys may lead into another type of opportunity, or may have some cross parallels?
But they really didn't, because surprisingly to me, they said that the bulk of their people assessed are the kids in school. Then I think was I forgot the term, like kind of like the underpaid workers or whatever. Those were second, but the numbers were so far. I think the kids was like in 70-something% of it. So I guess from how they were explaining it, the easiest way to put it is a lot of people waking up from going to the 4-year college, if they can take this test and go straight into the workforce and make the $40,000, $50,000 as opposed to getting in debt, from going to college for 4 years. So as far as transferable skills, they really didn't talk too much about it, because, like I said, surprisingly to me, it was mostly for the students, which is good, because now we're sitting up here, saying, well, we know where to start at. Let's attack, the school district. But as far as transferable skills, no, they didn't get too much into it.
One other thing, Commissioner, is it measures knowledge of something, not skills, because it takes specific knowledge to do a specific skill. And when they profile the occupation, they look at what knowledge is required to be proficient in this occupation. The skill sets, they're going to teach you that. You went to school for 2 years to be a process operator, but they train you for 18 months You're still in training. The assessment is the knowledge level. Do you have the knowledge to accomplish the task that they need accomplished? That's the difference. It's not about skills here.
Any other questions? Thank you. I think this is certainly a good step.
Well, we hope it work out, Ms.
A
Holmes.
good step, a good step.
Thank y'all.
Communication?
Yes, ma'am. We have two communications came in today. You had one from KLV. There's a ribbon cutting going to be at 7 on November the 7th at 3:30 p.m. And then you have your Motiva deal that's going to be at 4 that same day, huh?
Yes.
And we also have something from the Crystal you're going to do?
In her report? Or,
Okay.
no,
Yeah, well, the two one I have is KLV and Motiva, and I think both, you guys have both of them. Those of you that want to attend either one of them, let Joni know, and we'll RSVP you guys.
all right, with that, any other comments? Okay. With that, we'll move on to the non-consent agenda items. Number 1, to discuss for possible consideration an infrastructure economic incentive from Geraldo Munez. Who knows?
Yes, Madam Chairman and Commissioners, Mr. Munez submitted a letter for economic incentive for infrastructure for a project at 9th Avenue and 42nd Street. He provided us the documents, the information that for the needed infrastructure. As you can see in your package, we did submit this to the city engineer. The city engineer came back and provided us with his recommendation. The only thing, your policies say that 40% of the infrastructure we could give 40% of it. Mr. Munoz originally asked for, I think, was $172,000. When the city engineer figured it out, it was $156,000, and we actually went back and added in the sign and the striping of the parking lot. So we're recommending $69,839.71 for infrastructure for Mr. Munoz, which is 40% of the 174.
Questions? May I have a motion? You have a question?
My only question
Yes, sir.
about all of these shopping centers is, do they have any people that are ready to go into them? I know how they get paid. I know they have to have 2 COs and it doesn't affect us. But I just keep thinking about once the boom is gone, what happens to all of those shopping centers that have been built? And I guess that's what I'm thinking about now. When you talk about the one with Tier 1 Nita, doesn't matter. The boom gone, that place is going to still be there. But there are some places going to pop up just for now and then. What happens to all of those areas? I guess I'm just thinking ahead, but the number of shopping centers that we're approving, what's going to happen to those things? Anybody else thought about that besides me?
Because we talked about stabilization, right? You got people coming in. They're going to be here for the duration, but what's going to make people stay here, what's going to stabilize them, where the grassroots are going to be here where they can grow the community. And I agree with you. That has been on my mind as well, because we know there's going to be some people coming in and coming in, do what they need to do and move out. But what percentage of that are we going to try to build in the stabilization where we can keep the grassroots and grow the community? Because I think that's really what we're trying to do, is to grow the community. Correct? Okay.
I was wondering, you have a motion?
Have a second, please.
I can't answer that, Commissioner, just can't, we don't know,
May I get a second on the motion? Okay, go ahead, Mr. President.
Yeah, as to your question, you're right, it's, I know one business we funded and very little traffic at it right now. But, I don't know.
Does this business have tenants already signed up?
I am not sure. I think, Mr. Munoz is here.
We have a motion and a second on the floor. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Before we move.
Can we hear from Mr. Munoz before we vote?
Mr. Munoz.
Sure.
How's everybody doing this evening?
I'm good.
Good, how are you?
And your question, yes, my daughter, she's probably going to be the first attendant, and she's already been working on Little Caesar's Pizza in that area. She's been working on getting all that information and everything together. She'll be the first one. And the Watch It area, we should be number 2. We got all those hotels right there on 73 that they don't have really a place to go watch close. Other than, we got some more watch it areas in the area, but nothing close by. And then we got the little restaurant. I got a guy interested in the existing building. He's got a business in Beaumont. He's got like 3 restaurants. We've been talking about it, and he's really interested on that corner right there. So that's 3 people that I'm sure that's going to work out.
Any questions for Mr. Munoz?
Not necessarily for Mr. Munoz, but Floyd, in the past, all the ones that I've looked at, they have to guarantee 2 tenants, and, we don't release the money normally.
They have to have certificate of occupancy. That's how we released it, so.
Are we going to do that in this
Yes, sir.
case?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
okay. All right. Well, I didn't quite understand. I mean, we hadn't got to that stage yet.
Yes, sir. I think Commissioner Anderson's deal was the process. He wasn't questioning the process. He was just questioning what happens when all this stuff goes away.
Oh, yeah, I got that. But
couldn't
that's
answer
like you
that.
have to have a crystal ball to figure that out. But
That's
but,
right.
But we want to deal with the present. We want to deal with the present. Yeah. We can't see that. I just wondered if we were going to, before we release funds, do you have to meet those criteria?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We're not asking to change any processes that we've done in the past.
Anything else?
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, it's been moved and second to approve agenda item number 1. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Agenda item number 2, to discuss for possible consideration an infrastructure economic incentive from Griffin Plaza.
Yes, again, Madam Chairman and Commissioners, this project came before you guys last time. We did move forward with this. We submitted again to the city engineering department. Their original request was about $357,000. The engineering department came up with $229,000. 40% of the $229,000 is $91,672. We recommend that y'all fund this project at $91,672,000.
Yes.
What is the nature of the business or the service offering this organization is going to offer?
It's a retail center. I don't have the cover letter. If you look in your package,
It's
Commissioner.
the last page.
The last page tell you what they plan on doing. It's a 12,000 square foot retail space,
1,200.
1,200,
three of them.
1,200.
12
three
of them.
1,200 square foot places. We have to wait till we get 2 COs, right? And again, we don't fund until we have a minimum of 2 COs.
COs, right. Okay. You've heard the item. May I have a motion? So moved. It's been moved and second to approve agenda item number 2. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Agenda item number 3, to discuss for possible consideration the approval of a microloan for a trucking company. Mr. Baptiste?
Yes, ma'am. Where is it?
It's not in here.
It's not in the packet.
No, sir. This is the one that Rachel didn't know if it was going to make it in time.
Do they
I
have
was asking,
yeah,
can we move this to executive session?
I think, yes.
Okay.
You want to take both of these?
Yeah, I'd like to
Both of-
take
both-
items number 3 and 4 to executive session.
Okay.
Agenda item number 5, to discuss for possible consideration in entering into a purchase agreement with the Housing and EDC NDC for the property of 4th Street extending between Mobile Avenue and Shreveport.
Okay, Madam Chairman, on this one, we talked to you guys about the project on the 4th Street project with NDC. We asked you guys to sell the property to NDC with the stipulation that they would put the earnest money down 60 days, 30 days, guys?
They're supposed to deposit within 5 days of the effective
5 days,
date,
yeah.
which is the fully executed agreement between the parties.
Yes. And move forward with the sale of this property.
Question? Do you, Mike, Mr. Smith?
Have you had a chance to talk with them about the down payment? I mean, the money that we're asking for.
Yes, I did make them aware that the property now sells for $120,000.
Mr. Chairman, did they get their funding? Did they get that grant?
We have both been talking to GLO. GLO is telling us it's on their side. We will get funded, but we're dealing with the government.
It's on, who's their side? What do you mean?
GLO
Oh,
side.
GLO, okay.
Right.
Well, do we have any stipulation that they must build on that property, or are they just free to do whatever they want?
Well, when we originally applied for the grant, that's the property we list as shovel-ready with for GLO funds.
Madam Chairman, on the call, we discussed the fact, and Mr. Smith raises the question, because we all were concerned that while we're very anxious for NDC to proceed, and it will be, I think you can be satisfied that what will be constructed there is only what would the GLO grant was authorizing. I think our concern has been is that this it's taken a long time, and we never did get even an earnest money deposit with the before. And it's a fair question that Mr. Smith asked is, are we going to simply be approving this to let this thing lay fallow? And I think that if we approve this, then it is incumbent on the EDC to notify them that they expect this thing to move forward, and we're not simply allowing them to tie the property up.
Right.
So that if they don't have this up, if they don't have it up, then it expires, and we're going to put this thing back out in the market. We're not going to let them just continue just because GLO cannot get their act together to get the grant agreement in place, to let this thing just languish out there if we have other interested parties. So I think at the end of the day, we respect the fact that grants take a while to work on, but they don't need to keep coming back here and asking you all to commit the property to them if they're not going to concurrently move, promptly to get the in place. So again, we've said we recommend this, but I did tell Mr. Smith, I concur that we should not allow this to just go on and on and on and languish while we're waiting for them to put up their $5,000. And if they really want to do this, then commit at least the $5,000 and put the earnest money up. And then if they need a longer feasibility period, then they can come back and ask for it. But there's no reason for us to just approve this agreement, we execute it, send it to the title company, and then Kate have to go back along with Joni and check every few weeks to see if this has been done. EDC needs to pick the ball up again and run a little more promptly.
That's within the
And we'll try to make sure they do that.
5-day period.
Yeah. In other words, we want them to get busy and
Okay.
make this thing firm.
Certainly. You
But
had a
we have no
question, Mr.
problem
Sharpless?
with the contract because Kate previously drafted it with you all's concurrence, and it's followed form with what we've requested before.
Okay. Mr. Sharpless, you had a question?
Well, I just, do we have any recourse? Say they go through with the deal and they buy the property for $140,000,
120.
and they don't do anything. What's our recourse?
Well, I would say this, if they're going to execute this grant agreement is not just to acquire the property, it is to construct. In other words, this is not just funds to purchase the property, this is a construction project. This is an affordable housing, and I'm not saying low to moderate income, I'm not saying, because I don't know what the grant agreement says, but they won't be able to pursue the project without the grant. They're getting the grant so they can pursue it. So in other words, we can be fairly assured that they're going to proceed if they can get the grant agreement signed with the GLO.
But they don't have to.
Huh?
They don't have to.
They don't have the grant agreement executed today.
That's what I mean, but say they buy the property, they close.
No, they're not going to buy the property. They're paying for the property out of part of the grant proceeds. They're not separately purchasing it.
Okay.
If that was the case, and we actually asked that about that before, we'll just buy the property and then, you work on the timetable with the GLO grant, and then, we could have been at risk. But right now, we're not really at risk because they're indicating to the EDC that they're not proceeding until they get the grant agreement, because part of the grant agreement is the line item for the purchase of the property.
Gotcha.
Just one other question. When you earn this money, if they fail to meet the requirements for the grant, the earnest money, the $5,000, what happens to that? Do we give that back to them? Do we keep that?
We'd keep that. I mean, in other words, we're not conditioning the grant money on, they're entitled to get the grant money, their earnest money back if they do a feasibility study and they find issues that we can't address or aren't willing to address. But as far as this being tied to their ability to get the grant, I don't believe it was written that way.
Okay. Any other questions? May I have a motion, please?
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve agenda item number 5. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Agenda item number 6, to discuss for possible consideration amending the lease with G&G Enterprises Construction.
Yes, Madam Chairman, Commissioners, G&G currently lease space on the third floor. They lease 322, 323, and 324. They were subleasing the office space 324 to Architect Studio. Architect Studio came to you guys and asked you guys to lease the second floor space that we're going to bill out, and they will no longer need this space. G&G, the next item, which is Collins Engineering, they also lease space on the third floor from you guys, but they need additional space. G&G is willing to give up that space and allow them to have that space So what we have to do is modify that
Both of the leases.
Right.
So effectively, the two agenda items are lockstep. G&G is going to give up space, and Collins Engineering is going to expand into that space. So it's just moving from one lease to another lease, and it's beneficial to both parties. So we recommend approval, if it's the pleasure of the board.
Any questions? I have a motion, please, for agenda item number 6 and 7.
So moved. Second.
It's moved and second to approve agenda items number 6 and 7. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Agenda item number 8, to discuss for possible consideration the approval of the renewal of agreement with NDC expiring November 29th. Mr. Baptiste.
Yes, Madam Chairman, we have had NDC as a consultant for many years. Their agreement is on a year-to-year basis. You guys pay them $72,000 a year. The question is, do you guys want to renew them for an additional year at $72,000? The costs have not changed. We're asking you guys to renew them for an additional year, 1 year at $72,000 a year.
What service do they provide us?
They provide us with when we do a project, they make sure that all the financials are correct before we make a decision. They are bankers. At one time, we have used them. They are a CDFI, which has some new market tax credit, but we have some local folks that we have talked to that have this new market tax credit. So I think if we need new market tax credit, I don't have to just run the NDC to try to get it. I think I have some partners right here in Beaumont that hopefully will provide that service to us. We partnered with them with a 7A loan. We are an SBA lender through them. So they provide us with SBA loans for our small businesses that qualifies. So they provide all those services for us. They also provide services to the city. If you look at the contract says between the Economic Development Corporation and the city of Port Arthur. They provide a lot of housing assistance, technical assistance to the city. So.
And that cost is for their relationship with both the city and
Yes, ma'am.
EDC.
And they, of course, is tonight, they evaluate all the loans. They've also helped with not so much the infrastructure, which are handled through the city, but all your other economic incentives. And of course, they were the partner in this building. And so I guess the way I'd say it is, to my knowledge, their service obligations have not changed. Their fee hasn't changed. And the amount of service they use may be elastic. You may use them more in some fiscal years than you do in others, but overall, I think it's been a productive collaboration with NDC over the years, particularly when you look at the works that we did beginning with them in 2013, 14, 15, that work with these buildings, and they continue to work with your staff on many projects.
Any questions? You've heard the recommendation or the motion. May I have a motion? May I have a second, please?
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve agenda item number 8. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Excuse me, motion carries. Agenda item number 9, to discuss for possible consideration approving the recommendation for corporate target market branding for EDC. Mr. Baptiste.
Yes, Madam Chairman, I'm going to ask Renata to come up and talk about this one.
Good evening.
Evening.
As you all know, we've been working on this for quite some time, and finally, I actually have the final bid tabulation. And tonight, I'm going to make a recommendation. If you look in your packet, you actually have a final compilation of all the vendors, which it was 3 vendors: Americom Marketing, Hearst Media, and Marketing Alliance. And if you look at the matrix, you'll see that Americom Marketing actually is the chosen firm that we will go with. I'm making a recommendation that that's the firm that we go with for the corporate target market branding that we're trying to do for this fiscal year and so forth. If you want me to explain a little bit, I'm pretty sure you guys know, but if you want me to explain a little bit about what it is. Basically, we sent out a request to 3 different firms: Americom Marketing, Marketing Alliance, and Hearst Media, and all of them had the same scope of work, and everything was turned in. We actually had a team of 4, and we actually graded the different firms, and from there, this is how the scoring came about. And then a while back, the information that was actually included, pretty much, basically what it is we asked for each firm to turn in information that we want to know how they work with different municipalities, preferably those that were 50,000 or more in population. They had to submit a project approach for the project. Examples of each item were a number of days to complete the work, provide an in-depth layout of concepts that will exemplify a total corporate branding strategy. Visuals were accepted. Thoroughly provide us with the process that will be used to recruit, attract human populations to the Port Arthur, Texas area, and what were the firm's experience with working with economic development organizations, and they all had to provide references. And myself, I did call and speak with the reference. I called a reference from each firm to speak to see how they work with each organization. And then the number of employees that will be working on the project. What approach will your company take to market that Port Arthur, Texas is an income tax-free state, and outline your firm for partnering with local industry to convey the Port Arthur's vision and experience working with the industrial sector. And also pricing was also submitted. So that's just the whole scope of work that was included in the whole scope.
Go ahead, Mr.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
The Americom Marketing, what was the pricing? What is the price going to be on this thing?
The pricing for Americom Marketing actually came out to be $36,850, and that included pretty much everything that we were actually trying to do. And that included a campaign consultation, research analysis strategy, design services, and video production, which was to go out there and market and try to attract people to our area, preferably the human population, because we have the jobs, but we have a shortage of human population here in our city.
That 39,000, Renata, will encompass everything that you guys wanted them to do. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Laveau?
Not on this, I read the packet, evaluated what I thought, and came up with. I feel like, I don't know when this all started, how long ago this was, but what's going on now in the city and with industry and everything, I feel like people's coming here. I don't know if we would need this right now. I wonder if we could put like this on hold.
Actually, we started this back in March of this year, and we've met with all 3 firms. Mr. Smith myself, George Davis, and Mr. Baptiste. And this is what I was told that was needed, and I actually took the project and I ran with it, and this is where we are right now.
That's just my opinion. I feel like people's coming for jobs, maybe to live. I don't know if they are or not. I just feel like we would be paying somebody to put the cart before the horse, maybe. I don't know. No?
To kind of add a little clarity to this as well, when we began this, we were told there was about 30-something thousand jobs that's going to be coming to this this town, to this area. Right now, I can honestly say if we probably pull a census of how many people are coming to this area, I can guarantee it's not no 30,000 people that's going to be down here when these jobs need to be filled. And when we began this, we were trying to target people and organizations and locations where we feel that it would be apropos for them to come to the south because it's a warmer climate, and we were targeting all those locations where they would have the skill sets that we know to fill the jobs that they're going to be looking for here. With the opportunity of them making somewhere between 60 to 80 grand, I think something like that was the targeted compensation range for these people that we're trying to target. We're trying to lure them here to have them to be able to help us to build our community, stabilize our community, but also to help us to grow our community, and it'll be a more appropriate location for them to come because a lot of people are trying to move from California, they're trying to move from these colder climates, and they're trying to come to a warmer climate where they have a better cost of living, taxes are going to be better, property is going to be more appropriate for them to come because they can get more for what they are probably paying double for where they're living right now and not in a warmer climate. So with those type of skill sets that we're trying to identify that we know that's going to be along for these, the LNG plants that's being built over here, things of that nature, those guys and those ladies that live in those different climates that are doing that work, the appropriate time for them to start looking at a warmer climate is like in the winter, because that's when they're going to be looking at, do I want to be here in the winter next year to come look at an opportunity now? And we're trying to target this timeline because this is the timeline where they're going to probably be looking at these type of ads because it's going to be seasonal. It's going to go along with the other ads it's going to be looking at for them during this timeline. And if they're going to move in March or April of next year. And if we wait, we're going to miss that window.
Well, Mr. Smith, now, I understand that, but that wouldn't hurt our unemployment here, what we're trying to do and get people from here to go to work. That wouldn't hurt because we're going to be flooding the market with hopeful, in this case, this would work. So if all these people would be coming in, what would happen to our people?
That is the counterbalance. That's going to kind of multiply the initiative that George and them trying to do with the schools and things of that nature. But we're talking about two different types of skills. So we're talking about experienced people versus people that have the aptitude to actually take on some other opportunities. So we're looking at a twofold approach, because one single approach is not going to help us to meet the intent what we're trying to do, which is grow our community. Because the people that we're trying to target skilled people that can take on these jobs and earn this income and have a living and build their residence here while we build the foundation that George and I'm working on for those that's going to be backfilling them, because we need to have a layer on the top of a player approach. Because we have a single approach, we're going to only meet one end state. But we're trying to stabilize and grow and also build our base that can kind of supersede that once they kind of get to a certain level to kind of augment what we're trying to do. So that's really the thought process around what we thought we should do in concert with each other and in collaboration with each other with these two initiatives. So we at least meet our end state regardless what direction that we take, but we have a baseline and we have one level above that to kind of help us meet in the middle so we can stabilize. That was our thought process.
Any other questions? Any other questions? May I have a motion, please?
Make a motion.
May I-
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve agenda item number 9. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Someone say no? Oh, okay. With that, we'll move on. Thank you, Renata. I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
All right.
With that, we'll move on to reports, marketing, and business recruitment.
Well, Now
Since
that we
you're
have
there.
that, yeah, I'm here. Well, I just want to say thank you to the board and to Reddy. I actually had a chance to attend the Texas Economic Development Conference in San Antonio, October 8th through the 12th. It was a great networking experience, and I had a lot of one-on-one with potential clients and current clients that we currently work with. Americom Marketing, well, actually, I take that back, Marketing Alliance was actually there, so I had a chance to talk with Mr. Abate a little bit one-on-one about what's going on. Several takeaways that I would like to share with the board. One thing that they talked about, well, several different occasions, was marketing is critical for success, and that marketing is about telling the story. And they also talked about we need more rooftops to drive more development. Examples were grocery stores, retail shops, Starbucks, et cetera. They also talked about, once again, storytelling is a vital component in economic development. You have to be proactive in what you do. Always publish on LinkedIn. Social media is a great platform to let people know what it is that you're doing. Amplify your story and tell it. How active are your site selectors on social media? Very. It becomes critical when you make it to the short list. Internet and data-driven organizations, they gave an example, this one presenter gave an example of a flip phone versus an iPhone. And we're not in the flip phone world anymore, we're in the iPhone world. So it's the WWW, the World Wide Web. And Texas will be a 50-50 state if everyone voted. Statistically, Texas is a red state. They talked about demographics. They talked about the Caucasian and African-American population. There is growing a little bit. The Hispanic population is growing very, very fast. The mode age, Anglo, is 54. The Hispanic age is 11. 87% of Hispanic population interruption because of financial pressure, meaning the way the presenter broke it down is that a lot of the Hispanic population, they want to get that education, but a lot of them can't afford it because they have to go back and help the parents. So also, economic development is broadening in the state of Texas. Texas does have workforce issues currently. The higher rates of job growth in low tax states is not about the price of oil, it's about the lower taxes. They also talked about that we will need a lot of energy for the future. We will need more natural gas, compressing natural gas, LNG, exporting crude, LNG, petrochem, infrastructure, talking about the deepening and widening of the ports. Right now they're looking at Corpus Christi and Houston. Cost is very important. In 2015, price fell. Drilling went crazy between 2015 and 2017. I remember every conference I went to, they talked about fracking. It went from 70 to 50 and people went crazy. The oil companies constantly booming. And from the last presenter said that you can build a power plant on a 4-acre park and it'll run. And so these were just some takeaways that I got, and I just wanted to share it with you. It was a lot of information, great information, and a great way to network and build relationships with other economic development professionals. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Renata. We'll move to the operational report. Crystal.
Good evening, board members. Okay, so for your operational report tonight, I just wanted to give you a quick synopsis on what's going on. Before you, Joni passed out a career training and job prep seminar handout that we have helped with the chamber and some other entities that have also come together in providing this job prep seminar. You might remember we did this back in May where we partnered with them to provide this at the Carl Parker Center. Junior and senior students from area schools are bused to the Carl Parker Center to go through this job prep seminar. The chamber does really well in giving them good points as to how to dress, what to do, what not to do whenever you're going to interview. There are a lot of businesses that come together to help with this. The workforce also has businesses putting on a job fair upstairs. So after they go through the seminar, they get to go upstairs and check out what's upstairs with the jobs and what's available. And some have even been hired on the spot because, they've got the cosmetology department that comes out there as well. Some of the students from Lamar State College have gone out there as well. So it's a really good program. They decided to do it twice a year now because of the good turnout that they had in May. So we're excited to participate again this year, and that is going to be held on November 6th from 9 to 1, if any of you would like to attend. The Carl Parker Center. As far as some of our clients, we have Robogistics that we are still working with. They are very eagerly helping us to get the workforce ready for employers such as themselves and others that might come along that fall into that sector. We are currently working with them in setting up meetings with different sources of educators for different software that do what they need in robotics. So we're currently trying to see how we can partner those agencies with the local schools and the local college to get those students prepared. Right now, Lamar State College provides AutoCAD training, and what they have told us is that they use actually AutoCAD as well, but they benefit a lot from a program called SolidWorks. So we're trying to find out how we can partner those providers with SolidWorks, get that into the schools as well, so we can have the workforce ready. Parker Lumber, that project is up and running. They're ready to get their project going. They have the infrastructure in place there, so they did provide us with their letter of credit. So now we just need to have their invoices for the equipment and the facility that they need constructed there. KLV, Joni did pass out something for you guys for the ribbon cutting. I just want to emphasize that they are one of our clients, so if you all can make it out there to support them, that'd be great. We did have a chance to speak to a representative from Golden Pass LNG this week. They are very eager and interested in what we're doing with the rest of the industry in the area, how we've worked with employers such as Robogistics and Lamar State College. They're eager in trying to forge that partnership with us along with school systems to make sure that their workforce is ready as well. And that is all I have for you tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Rachel, financial report.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
I would like to pass out the information you guys will need as I discuss our financials.
Thank you. You could just we'll pass the others down.
Thank you so much.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'll begin by telling you that as of today, the city has still not closed the fiscal year, but it's okay. I'm going to give you my best shot at our projections for the fund balance at the end of the year, and I think we should be pretty close. I can tell you our projections in sales tax, we projected for this fiscal year to collect $3,637,500 in sales tax. However, we actually, as of September the 30th, has collected $3,756,890, which is $119,390 over what we projected. Our interest in revenue, we projected $120,000 for. The actual balances that I'm giving you is not on your sheet. I'm just telling you what they are right now. We actually collected $183,546 in interest revenue, also over the projection by $63,546. Our loan repayment, $74,000 was our projection, and we've actually collected, we're under on that one, $63,448, so we're under collected by $10,000 there. Our rental income, I'm sorry, the rental income was $74,000. I apologize, I needed a ruler. And we're under there, and that is due to losing a couple of our lease tenants this year, which actually next year we're expected to pick up back on those lease tenants, so we should be back on track by next year. The business park assessment, we projected $41,000 and collected $62,761. So we're also over on that line item. We project every year $287,500 in land sales, but we actually sold $468,225 in revenue on land sales. We did not budget for miscellaneous, but our miscellaneous revenue is $4,987,000. We projected $4,203,478 for the fiscal year. Our actual as of September the 30th is $4,601,451. Our expenditures for the fiscal year is $4,854,681. Under the projection, we was projected to be overexpended by $651,203, but with the actual numbers, it's less than that. It's $253,230. We have satisfied our debt service. We had a debt service of $891,474 for the fiscal year. We have satisfied that as of today. Our fund balance, that leaves us a net change in fund balance of actual of $253,230. Your projection that you see is $651,203. With the fund balance at the beginning of the year and the fund balance that we're projecting at the end of the year, the projection was $6,995,864. With the actual numbers, it's $7,393,837. And on our last board meeting, Mr. Baptiste told you an estimate of about $2 million. And it's looking like it might be an estimate of more of $3 million added to that number. So that probably leaves us with a projection of about $10 million. Any questions? As usual, the breakdown for each line item is in the back of the sheet where you can see where each line item went over and under and where you are and where I get the $3 million from. And you'll also see how much we collected in taxes, and you'll see that breakdown also. Are there any questions? Ms. Baptiste, would you like to add anything? Okay. Right. That'll be all for me tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Baptiste?
Did at the Vietnamese church on 9th Avenue. We also did one at St. Joseph. We have been invited to both of those facilities again, so I think George working on some dates. Is that right, George? Yeah. It's been very good to just go out and hear the people and listen to them, and they have a better understanding of what we do, because most people don't know what we do. But I've thoroughly enjoyed this, going out and talking to the people. I think Guy, we're talking about a memorandum of understanding with Lamar for the Armory building. Going to work on that, right?
We have provided one to Floyd and George to look at and evaluate that kind of incorporates the expectations that we all have for the grant as the EDA. What I'm asking Floyd and George to do is to give us what we don't have on there yet is the exhibits of what the EDC wants as deliverables back, just on, not the programmatic things they're going to do out there, but how many people through different regimens of training we want to have done. So we are still lacking an exhibit, but we've kind of put together the framework for the overall agreement that incorporates all of the EDA requirements measured out between the two entities. Primarily, most everything will be on Lamar, since they're going to be the entity procuring and developing the building, and we're providing the funding sources. We are asking them to be responsible for a lot of the administrative responsibilities.
This week or last week, myself and the architect met with, and the contractor, we met with the city to look at the plans. We have about close to 50% drawings on the plan. The city gave us their overview of some of the things that they wanted in the building based upon the city code, so we kind of know where we're going on that. In fact, I think Sunday, the contractor will be advertising for subcontractors, so hopefully by the 1st of December, we should be doing some construction in that building. The other thing I have is Commissioner Anderson. And I did speak to Commissioner Anderson, and I think sometime this week or next week, we're going to be going over to the school district with Robogistic. Tomorrow?
Wednesday,
Day after tomorrow.
Okay, day after tomorrow. Okay, but we will be going over there, you know, in fact, I was told that they're going to give the school district a robot. And we're looking at how we could partner with the school and in teaching these kids the skill sets that this company will need to be productive in. So we hope to have, and I think you guys have the welding class, y'all have the machine shop class, y'all have the CAD, AutoCAD, all. So their team is going over there and meet with these folks and see how we could work together and make this thing a successful deal. You guys got your newsletter this week or last week, so that was good to get out. If you guys need some extra, we have 9 boxes of them over here, so if y'all want some, we certainly have some.
Yeah, I think everybody, plus some people got some.
My understanding, they were supposed to send it to how many mailing address, Renata? Who's that? 24,000 physical address. You know, so maybe not. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's going pretty good. Going
Yeah.
pretty good.
Bad shape. Yeah. Any,
That's all I
anything
have.
else? Okay. Okay, with that, we'll recess to executive session, a closed meeting. Our executive session will be held pursuant to the following sections of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code, Section 551.071, Section 551.072, Section 551.074, and Section 551.087. The items in executive session may be discussed and acted upon, and will be discussed and acted upon in open session. This time, we'll recess to executive session. Yes.
The information that you will need to look at one of the items in your closed session is placed in front of you in the conference room.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is that's the Port Arthur News, the old Port Arthur News. Yes.
Sounds like a baseball game. Oh, well.
Like to reconvene the November meeting. May I have a roll call?
Yes, ma'am. Earl Anderson. Here. John Sharpus. Here. Christopher Smith. Here. Kenneth Marks. Here. Dallas Smith. Here. Ingrid Holmes.
Here.
Jerry LeBeau. You have a quorum.
Thank you. There were 2 items that are necessary for a vote. Agenda item number 3, to discuss for possible consideration the approval of a microloan for a trucking company. May I have a?
Make a motion. Second.
It's been moved and second to approve agenda item number 3. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. Agenda item number 4, to discuss for possible consideration a letter of intent for a microloan. May I have a...
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and second to approve agenda item number 4. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposition? Motion carries. With that, may I call for a motion to adjourn? No, it's been moved and second to adjourn the meeting, so everybody can go see the Cowboys play. Y'all let me know how that worked out for y'all tonight. All you Cowboy fans, let me know.